Trace subdivision. My backyard directly abuts the piece of land that is proposed to be rezoned in neighborhood business. In a letter that I sent to all the town board members and in discussions that I've had with virtually every one of you, I discussed our desire to require contingencies to be set on this rezone before the rezone is considered. The fact is that this rezone involves putting things that are unknown, restaurants, bars, retail stores, directly behind homes that were purchased with the land zoned for residential development. The homes on Traceway that are part of almost this 1,000-acre plot, which is almost 100% residential housing, all of that in there, those are all zoned R1 up until about 2000, really about 2004 when this rezone was going through. I believe that the fact that this is now going to neighborhood business makes this an unprecedented rezone. I would like you to imagine yourself if the developer came into your neighborhood and proposed rezoning the land behind your house and placing a retail business behind your house about 100 feet where your young children play. My contention is that this would not be allowed to happen anywhere else in the town. The fact is the developer realizes that there's only 5 houses that directly abut this property where it was zoned R1, and now they're trying to rezone it to neighborhood business. As you're aware from our discussions and our letter, we've taken upon ourselves to be proactive in this project, and we, the homeowners of Traceway, have been working together with the developer, with Mark Equity, to find an amenable solution. We've had many conversations, but as of right now, there's not one thing on paper, only verbal promises. The real kicker in this rezone is that if this approval is rezoned as is, this land will be up for sale, and it's highly probable that it won't be Marano that develops it. And they don't debate that. I don't know about you, but a loose verbal agreement with someone who's not sure if they're going to be involved in the negotiations in the near future doesn't sound like a very good deal to me. In fact, it kind of sounds like safer negotiations for the past year. So what I'm asking you for tonight, what we're hoping for in the conversations, is that before any rezone is approved here, that there would be contingencies, the contingencies that are in that letter and the map that I sent to you from myself and from the neighbors. We're asking for those contingencies to be put in place before any rezone is considered. I realize standard protocol is that goes into the site planning portion of this, is what I understand. But with the dynamics involved here, I hope the board will require Mr. Martucci and Pleasant Meadows to finalize an agreement before the rezone is approved. I fully understand Mr. Martucci's desire to get the rezone approved as is. Everyone I've talked to has agreed that Vic, and every time I've talked with them, he's a straight shooter and certainly he's good at his job. Unfortunately, part of his job is maximizing his company's profit margins. All right, well, that's good for them, but not so good for us. So, fortunately for us, we have you, hopefully, to protect us as homeowners in the town of Lancaster. There was a letter sent to the town board in the year 2000, actually from the Traceway homeowners when this land was purchased from M&T Bank, we requested at that time the land not be rezoned at all. And we said if it ever is rezoned, that we ask for a 250-foot buffer. Since negotiating with Mr. Martucci, we conceded they came in with a 100-foot buffer. We conceded to that with the stipulation being that there'd be an 8-foot berm with a 6-foot fence and pine trees on top of that. As in my last discussion with Mr. Martucci, which was just last week Friday, he told me his engineers told him the berm would have to be 54 foot wide at the base to have a berm 8 foot high. It's just simple physics at work there, which would make the buffer then 154 foot deep, which he told me at that point would really not be feasible to go 154 feet. So if you just do simple math, if you take about a 400 foot berm and you add an additional 50 feet on there, it comes out to be about 20,000 square feet, which is approximately a third of an acre is what we're looking for here, in addition to what was initially proposed. With the fact being that my 5-year-old, my 7-year-old, and 9-year-old play in an area now that's going to have retail business, is going to have parking lots with tons of, whoever wants to come and go from there, potentially with restaurants and bars, it would seem a third of an acre lot is not unreasonable. In theory, the site plan should not be completed as of yet, so that this still should be possible. I would assume the only way that Marano will agree to this is if the town board tells them that they have to do this. I don't blame them for that. It's money out of their pocket, but again, we're asking you to protect us. Through everything that I've done, I've tried to speak on behalf of the homeowners, but I have had a specific individual interest that I've talked to Mr. Martucci about since, can I just finish this 1 minute? since about 2000. I've had a desire to purchase the land. The land behind my house, there's a burned down farmhouse that is back there that it burned down decades ago. There's concrete, there's rebar, there's glass. When I first moved in there was hundreds of tires that I pulled out of there, and M&T actually came in. I pulled them onto the road and they picked them up. But it's just terrible land right behind my house. The land behind there it's landlocked because of wetlands. So they have been, Mr. Martucci has been agreeable. In fact, he's going to talk to his partner, Meadow, and try to negotiate a purchase of the land, and then I'd like to pay them to come in and excavate it, put a final grade to it. Again, not expecting them to give that to me. We've talked about just negotiating a reasonable price and working, and we're on the path to doing that. So again, I just implore you tonight that this is not a standard rezone. This is retail stuff going behind houses, and I've been there since '96. I have neighbors that have been there since the early '90s. It was zoned R1. Part of that rezone to RCO came about as part of a huge master plan that M&T put together. When we went together in 2004, nobody wanted to hear from us because the build-out, they told us, was 50 to 75 years, if you remember hearing that. And they said, don't worry about this little piece because it's going to be forever and a day until it happens, and it probably will never be developed. The contention, I think the only reason the planning board approved this is because their argument was, well, it's RCO, we could put an office park there today. Well, that was part of a huge rezone. Everybody was worried about apartments up by the high school. Nobody cared about this little parcel down here, which they said was never going to be developed. So the fact is, all of us, it was R1 housing, and now we're looking at we could have a Wendy's, an Applebee's, a bar.
We're in 7.
Okay, so I ask you that if we can have contingencies, we've negotiated things, they've been very good, but again, there's nothing, it's just on paper.
You got to roll.
Or it's not good. Thank you.